So, I guess I left out more information about something I saw posted on YouTube. I'm not going to include that in this video, not going to mention it, but maybe I'll make another video with the link to that YouTube information. And basically, he has a diagram like this, but all he has plotted in it is the scheme of the various modes of the C major scale, and all of those transposed to any other scale, but he had it in the C major format. And he knows all the modes. He lists them by name: Phrygian, Lydian, Dorian, Locrian. They go on, and basically, if you're playing C, then you go on to one that starts at D, one that starts at E, one that starts at G. Even A minor can be considered a mode of C major. Now, what makes a mode difference is if you're playing, you see how I omitted G and put the G sharp? We already went through that in a different video showing the significance of G sharp. Now, when we put in these alternate lines of symmetry that were derived from relative pentatonic scales that fit in the C major scale, they suggested alternate lines of symmetry, and those lines of symmetry introduce new notes to the C major scheme, just like the C major scale scheme first introduced G sharp, and then when we explored the pentatonic scales that fit in there, they introduced new lines of symmetry, and just like this line of symmetry brought in a G sharp, the other lines of symmetry brought in sharps and flats. And so we have modes of C major scale and A minor scale that were created by infusing this G sharp, and we also have other modes that are created by infusing the C sharp and the E flat. And so this is a way to understand the logic behind the modes of the C major scale or major scale. They teach them as modes with names: Dorian, Locrian, Phrygian. I don't know the order, I don't know all the names. I know the names are relative to islands that are in the Greek area of the Mediterranean, old, I don't know what to call them, maybe kingdoms or whatever from way back. Yeah, those names come from then, and they probably played those scales back then. Maybe that's why those are scales that are popular there. But some of them are C major scale or A minor scale with the G sharp infused, or with the C sharp infused, or with the E flat. And all depends on where you start. Are you starting on the C note? Are you starting on the D note? Are you starting on the E? So you progress through modulation. There's the idea of modulation, and there's the idea of transposition. Transposition is more direct. You transposition note for note. Note for note. In the scheme of modulation, it's not necessarily note for note. You might modulate mostly note for note, like the first five, but then maybe. So anyway, what I noticed is following the mode scheme by name and everything was a little bit cumbersome. And then once I started doing this, you see how I follow and look for lines of symmetry, and then lines of symmetry take me elsewhere, take me out of my original bounds and start leading me into expansion. And sure enough, I'm expanded into exploring these modes, and these lead directly to those modes. You just throw them in different parts and you'll find them fitting in. And before you know it, you've covered what all those different modes going by the names Dorian, Locrian, Phrygian, Ionian, I'm not sure. But anyway, this will take you there. I like this better, because not only does it introduce you to those, but it introduces you to them with an open mind for other options. Basically pure creative exploration. You are going through the doors with the key to just keep going through and opening into another. And you can get into transpositions outside of the C major bounds and its modes. Okay, so there's a video. Anyway, the video on YouTube that guy put, he shows that even when he plots just the modes of the C major scale, he plots them one by one, they make a geometric shape that flowers out in a full way, balanced and symmetric, to show that there's a significant order around each scale's makeup. And when you superimpose them over each other, you see they create something really dynamic, in the same way that what we've been showing here. And every step of the way, once you start plotting in this kind of modeling, every step of the way, when you've got some significant harmonic functions, you're gonna see the scheme. And it doesn't matter what approach you take, because at the root of it is the symmetry. Here's another way of looking at it. Look at this. This is a column for white notes. This is a column for black notes. This is a column for white notes, and this is a column for black notes. And everything added up in this row adds up to 12. And this row represents the note distribution in the C major scale. And it's the distribution of white notes that are used and black notes that are used, and then the distribution of white notes that are not being used and the distribution of black notes that are not being used. So if you have a total of 5 black notes and you see in the used column that there's 0 being used, then you should have in the remnant, if these are what you're using here, then this row represents, or this column represents, what you're not using, the remnant. And where I got that idea from is here, the C major scale. The C major scale is using all the white notes in the chromatic scale, as far as the chromatic scale goes, which is 12 notes. This entire row, this plus this, adds up to be 12, which adds up to be the entire chromatic scale. And we're using the 7 white notes. That means we're not using the 5 black notes. And here it is. In this row, we're using 7 white, we're using 0 black, which means the remnant left over is 5 black. And here it is. We're using all the whites, and then we're not using any black. And then when you go to the next row, that's C sharp, going step at a time. We start here, make a major scale, and then we transpose up, make the next major scale. You'll see 1 black, 2 black, 1 white, 3 black, 4 black, 5 black, 2 white. 5 black, 2 white. Did we write that down? Well, we wrote it down in terms of 2 black and 2 white being used and 5 black. And that means there's 5 out of 7 white that's not being used, and there's 0 out of 5 blacks being used. 5 out of 5 blacks are being used, 2 out of 7 whites are being used. And we have 7 white notes, 5 black notes, always, in every instance. And so on and on. We're at C major, that's row number 1. Row number 2 is C sharp. Row number 3, D, E flat, on and on. Okay, so this is right, the distribution of white and black notes being used, and also the distribution of white and black notes not being used, and all of them added together add up to 12 notes in the chromatic scale. Now, look at it, take a close look. Can you see 2 and 5? Below it is the reverse, 5 plus 2. 4 and 3. Below it is the reverse, 3 plus 4. Here, 6 plus 1, and then kind of a fluke here, but not just a fluke. That's interesting. And then the 6 plus 1 is matched here. So you have 6 plus 1 on this side. On this side you have 6 plus 1. Below you have 3 plus 4. Do we have on the opposite side? 3 plus 4. You see, this line is the point of reflection. Anything above this line is a reflection. So if we have just immediate of this side of the line, we'll see the same thing just immediate on the other side of the line. Sure enough, we see 6 plus 1. Here we see 6 plus 1. In the second place below the line, we see 3 plus 4. In the second place above the line, we should see 3.4. And then here, 4 plus 3. In the third place above the line, we should see 4 plus 3. 5 plus 2 in the fourth place below the line. In the fourth place above the line, we should see 5 plus 2. And then 2 plus 5 in the fifth place below the line. We should see that in the fifth place above the line, which is 2 plus 5, 2 plus 5, 5 plus 2, 5 plus 2, 4 plus 3, 4 plus 3, 3 plus 4. So when I do this, all I have to do is figure out the first 7. Just draw the first 7, count them out. 7 white notes in C major scale, 0. 2 white notes, 5 black notes. 5 white notes, 2 black notes. 4 white notes. And then once I get to this line, all I do is just repeat. Don't even bother to count them out. Just know the formula is that whatever is above this line will be mirrored like a reflection in a pond. Like this is the horizon edge of the pond, and then this is the water, and then this is what's reflecting over. Mirror image effect. And even within each hemisphere, and remember the line of symmetry, this side reflects this side. And even when you do it like this in a grand comprehensive scheme of all the major minor scales possible, interacting within the chromatic progression, it's still there. And this line of symmetry is F sharp. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places. Line of symmetry below it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places. Now here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a 6th one. The 6th one is the C. It's an odd man out. And this one also is an odd man out because this wants to cycle, meaning a linear progression that wants to wrap around itself and continue cycling around itself. So this 7 would wrap around and connect to this 2. So place number 1 would cycle around and connect to place 12. In the same way that this is cycling around, this would be place 12, and it would cycle all the way around, or actually B. There's B. That would be place 12, and then it would cycle all the way around, and then this would be place 1. 12 would cycle all around, and they would just keep going back and forth. And you would see that this 2 plus 5 would actually jump to meet this 2 plus 5 here. This 5 plus 2 would cycle and jump to meet this 5 plus 2. So not only reflecting like this, 6, 6, 3, 3, but even if you came down here and cycled up, you'd still see it going. 7 would be the odd man out, and that's because it would mark a line of symmetry, a point in the axis, and then you draw the axis line from C to F sharp, and that's how you establish that the line of symmetry for the chromatic scale is from C to F. By pure geometric approach, the line of symmetry for the chromatic scale could be any 2 points that cut through the center of a circle, and cutting through the center of a circle is possible on any point along the circumference. Just start at any point and be sure you aim across the center point of the circle and you'll have it. But in something as dynamic as this, refractioning, the way in which there is refractioning, it will lead you to this point, C to F. And so if you look at all of this and wonder where is the most center note, you would want to pick either an F sharp or a C, or everything in between. Also, another thing to consider is that no matter what key you are playing in, using all white notes, all black notes, all notes in between.